Right, welcome to the Gospel Answer series. We are still looking at the Gospel Answers Truth. We have established the Gospel's claim of truth. We have established how to know the truth, which is by observation and reason. You know whatever is true by observation and reason. You can know your height by observation and reason. You go to the measuring tape or the measuring stand, and then they see, oh, you are this, and then you know that's what your height is. You could know your gender or your sex by observation and reason. So, observation and reason is how we know the truth. I used the example of the color of this book. You can know the color of this book by observation and reason. You look at it, you think about it, and you know. So, this is Gospel Answers Series simplified version. So, there are many things I would have said, or I would say when we get to the critical version, but I'm doing as a simple background foundation for your understanding of the gospel. When we get to the critical version, we'll be looking at things like, how do we know anything is even true at all? How am I even sure that I'm here? How am I even sure this is blue? Are we really sure about that? Where claims of radical skepticism will come in, and where we have to look at foundational axioms that make for rational inquiry. You can see already I'm using a lot of words that might be throwing you off. So let us get back to the simplified version. Truth is known by observation and reason, right? And what is it that we observe and reason to know that there is God? Paul told us what was observed and reasoned, what is observed rather and reasoned by all humans, that leads to the conclusion God is the invisible attribute of Him made obvious by the finitude of the world and the contingency of the world. Now, what I would do before I come back to explaining all the big grammar, would see another text, Romans chapter 10. Now, in Romans chapter 10, Paul was saying in verse 13, whosoever calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Right? Other instance is talking about believing the gospel. When you call on the name of the Lord, you are going to be saved. Verse 14 then says, how shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? How shall they believe on him of whom they have not heard? So we confess him like, Lord, I accept the truth of you and I accept your redemptive work over my life because we have believed. And we could only believe because we have heard. So we have to have heard the message to believe the message, right? That's pretty simple and standard. But then he asks another question downwards in verse 18, which is the one I want to point you to. He says, but I say, have they not heard? Then he says, yes, indeed. So he's asking the question, have people not heard the gospel? And he says, yes, indeed, they have heard the gospel. And he quotes a text from the book of Psalms that says, their sound has gone out to all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. So he's saying that the sound and the words of God's message of the gospel has gone out into all the earth. The words has gone into the ends of the world. Okay, that gives us something to think about, right? We have to go back to the book of Psalms and see how exactly has the gospel's message gone into all the world for people to believe in it. Now go to Psalm 19 and you're going to find the context that answers this there. The book of Psalms and chapter 19. It says, I'll read from verse 1. The text that was quoted was verse 4 by Paul, right? But he expects them to understand the text he was quoting from. In Psalm 19 and in verse 1, it says, the heavens declare the glory of God. So he's saying when we are observing the cosmos, it declares the glory of God. The firmament shows his handiwork. Now he's about to show you how the world, the natural world, points to God. The way Paul was saying, for since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. So what we witness, this finite world, as well as the nature of that world, points to the reality of God. How? The heavens declare the glory of God. The firmament shows his handiwork. How exactly? Verse 2. Day unto day utters speech. Night unto night reveals knowledge. There is no speech or language where their voice is not heard. Their line, or this, what is their sound, has gone into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. Can you imagine? It's not saying someone was speaking, even though this is a truth that those who believe are also called to testify, to vocalize, to give a testimony of in their preaching. It's rather saying that this message, revealed in nature itself, has gone into all the world. How? Day unto day is uttering speech, and night unto night is revealing knowledge. What's the idea of day unto day? That's time. Day unto day, night unto night. We can see time counting forward. It's pointing towards something, finitude. There's a basic argument he's making here, one that is common amongst many philosophies that accept creation or accept the finitude of the world. So, a basic cosmological argument, which is that by virtue of the world being finite, particularly in time, it cannot have an infinite past, necessitating there is a cause that is God to have brought forth the world. Now, I'm going to explain in a simpler version. If we have day on today, there's tomorrow, there's the day next, there was yesterday, there was day before. If the moment you are living in a world where time is counting, one thing is sure, time is counting forward, and who knows, it may count forward forever. But then, time cannot count backwards forever. Because if it does, then if it's counting backwards all the way forever, we won't be able to get to this present day. Now, this argument from the finitude of the world has its objections, and maybe some might even argue is the weaker of the two arguments Paul is making about the finitude of the world and contingency, but it's a very potent and strong one that has been at the heart of the reality of faith in God for the ages, which is that clearly a finite world must have an origin that is self existent, that has brought it forth. An infinite past would be an oddity because arriving at today when time is always going all the way back, endlessly, unstoppingly, if you get that at all, would make for a contradiction. We cannot arrive at this point. That's the first thing he said. The finish of the world is a pointer to the reality of God. The second thing he's going to point to is the contingency of the world. The heavens declare your glory. It says, the firmament show your handiwork, that they are something made, which is that they are contingent. And we're going to look at that on the next episode. Don't get tired, don't get bored. See you on the next one.